Hello everyone and welcome to Of God in Mind. Got a bunch of cool science stories for you today. So last week scientists discovered that caterpillars of the honeycomb moth, a species where the caterpillars normally live in beehives and eat the wax that they use to make their honeycomb, can also digest polyethylene plastics, including plastic bags. So that's a pretty cool discovery. Means we've discovered one other way in which to combat plastic waste. Can't do it directly. The moths themselves, if we breed too many of them to eat the plastic, they're going to also eat the bees' nests and kill a lot of bees, which are already in danger, as I went over last time. But they digest it by means of an enzyme, a sort of little chemical compound in their body that breaks down certain chemical constructs. The same sort of way as our stomachs work with a bunch of things, such as lactose, for example, is digested by an enzyme. That's one you've probably heard of. This is the second species we've seen to do it, the Indian meal moth, also known as a waxworm. I think they both are called the waxworms. People aren't too inventive with names. But that can also digest it, another species of caterpillar adapted to live off beeswax. So hopefully we can develop some compounds from this that will help us get rid of that plastic that otherwise does not break down or spends a long time breaking down. Another new discovery, scientists re-examining the amount of forests around the world have discovered that there's a lot more forest in certain areas that were considered low density before, sort of drier areas of forest. There's actually a lot more trees in there than had originally been estimated. So there's been up to like a 10 to 13% increase in the amount of forest and carbon discovered in our estimates from that, which will help us get better climate models to work out climate change, the human carbon pollution effect, and so forth. And it's just nice to know that there's a lot more trees out there, and gives us a better idea of those habitats and what they're like, and will help us judge the ecosystems and so forth there, the makeup of the animals within it. It's also been cool new drone footage shown of narwhals, those cool whales, little whales, kind of like a big dolphin, except with a big head. Anyway, you probably know the narwhals, if not. They've got a giant, it's a tooth that comes out through the front of their head, forms like a unicorn horn. Anyway, the drone footage has shown that they use this to stun fish. They whack fish with it, essentially. Use it as like a sword. We've seen them fight with it before, but that didn't seem to be its primary use. But now we've seen them use it for fishing. Whether that's a convenient use of a horn that developed for courtship and displaying that, hey, I'm a good mate, I'm a good partner, I'll make you good babies, or whether it's whether it actually developed to hit fish and then they use that, hey, I can get fish well, check out my giant horn. Either way, it's cool to finally discover sort of what that's about. I lost my screen. There's one more story. Actually, two. So, scientists the other day have discovered that we can, or in rats at least, they 3D printed ovaries. So, female reproductive organ where the eggs come from that eventually form embryos. They 3D printed sort of sacks of that using special gelatin-based sort of material that can allow blood through it and various things as the right tendency. And when filled with these sort of little cells that become eggs and release eggs in these rats, they were able to have the cells develop normally. The eggs were released, and the majority of the rats even became pregnant and bore healthy, normal babies from it. So this is a pretty cool use with potential use in humans. They're looking to scale up trails to pigs next, and eventually, if that keeps working, use it to try and help humans. Specifically, it's of most use to younger patients, young females who have things like cancer treatments that would otherwise really damage and destroy the ovaries. Now, perhaps one day we can 3D print them new ones to enable them to maintain the ability to have children later on. And related to this, well, not really related, but same area, last week scientists discovered that, well, they successfully grew a baby lamb in an artificial womb. So the womb's the thing where the baby sits in and develops. They grew a baby lamb in one of those, and it came out healthy, which is a pretty big step, because it's not as simple as make a sack of fluid and the baby will grow in it. It's got to provide the right nutrients. You've got to do various functions, such as sort of a dialysis function as the kidneys for the lamb, filter its blood, all the stuff out of it. Got to provide it with the oxygen it needs, since it can't breathe yet, not being in contact with oxygen. Various other functions, and so far that had eluded us. But now they've successfully developed this baby lamb in this artificial womb. So that could also have potential for human use in the future, for helping babies come to term if their mother's womb is unsuitable for whatever reason, and potentially more dubiously stuff like cloning and various other things. But anyway, that's all. That's a bunch of cool science things that have happened in the past 2 weeks. I'll see you all next time.